superb quality. And I was asked to fly to Vegas, and I graded the coins in 5 days in a bank called Wells Fargo. Go figure. And the coins were in tubes, paper tubes, and they were pristine. As you know, if you've seen them, really, really clean, fairly well struck, and beautiful color, completely original. Graded them. It took 6 weeks for those coins to get to my office to encapsulate. In those 6 weeks, they developed a film, a slight film. Now, this is a phenomenon that goes towards a subject that's negative in the coin business, and it's coin doctrine. Because we had this, I had a discussion with the folks at the P&G meeting the other day, and what happened to these 20s, or what happens to any large group of original coins, if you move them from their environment to another environment, they seem to acquire a film. This is what happened to the Wells Fargo 20s. Now, over the years, these coins have gotten a little more film. Nothing was added to these coins. Nothing was done to the surface. There was no intent to defraud anyone. They just slightly acquired a film over time. I've been accused of grading doctored coins because of this Wells Fargo deal any number of times. It's an absurdity. You could take Russian 5 rubles, which we got in tens of thousands of, and the same thing happened. As soon as they opened the bag, you move them from one environment to another, they start acquiring this film. Anyway, I wanted to just mention that because you shouldn't assume because film is applied. It's sometimes natural.
Did you ever determine what it was?
No, it's just a natural phenomenon. It's
global warming.
Florida humidity.
No, it happened to our Wells Fargo's also.
Same thing at PCGS.
So it has nothing to do with the NGC holder, nothing to do with the PCGS holder, nothing to do with the crappy air in California or the Florida humidity. It's global warming.
Anything to do with Vegas where they came from?
No, it's not. And I
It
think
happens to all gold? Or
not to put
Same thing can happen with
words
like
in Mark's
Franklin's,
mouth,
all kinds of things.
Gold coins, it happens to some gold coins, and it's not necessarily putty. And everything Mark's saying, this is just a fact, and it's something that both he and my firm and his firm have to deal with. There is some putty in it, but it looks different than film to me, Mark. It looks like thick film, and it's just so. And again, I'll shut up in a second. But so John calls me up and says, "Oh, David, this 1806 5 in the sale. I mean, people are calling me. It's got crap all over it. What do you think?" I go, "Oh shit, I guess we got to buy it back." So we buy it back, and I send it to John. I look at it and I go, "John, I don't think there's anything wrong with the coin." So send it to John, and he goes, "David, there's nothing wrong with the coin. I don't know what these people are calling me. We're talking about." So again, back to Mark, but everything it's not every coin with film has been doctored.
Right.
I'm so glad you brought it up, Mark.
The Eliasberg silver, a lot of it has a film, but I'm going to tell you the difference is when you take a lot of photographs, the natural film disappears in the photograph. Like if you look at like Eliasberg silver has a film. If I look at a silver coin, I can almost tell it's going to be an Eliasberg coin if there's no pedigree, just because they have a certain look. But first of all, that natural film doesn't come with fingerprints at it. Or paintbrush marks, but it does disappear in a photo. I mean, we found that over time that a lot of the coins where we know they're not correct, it shows up in a photo. I don't know why, just the way the light hits it. But people have had problems, like I think with proof Franklins, taking them out of cello and they film up. So what you're saying on like the only no models makes sense.
Mark, how long did it take the film to occur from Vegas
to? About
to
6 weeks it started to develop. Now they might have been in flips and gotten some PVC, but it also occurs if the coins are in a bag and the bag is open.
Was it all of them or just some of them?
It was some of them.
Not all of
No,
them?
it was a majority of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was subtle, and then it grew over time. It's not significant, it's not something that can't be reversed, and it's just a natural occurring phenomenon.
Can I ask you a question about this coin doctoring thing?
Yeah, sure.
If you look at other areas like paintings, I collect paintings. You take a painting, and the first thing I do after I look at it is I take it into a back room and I look at an ultraviolet light. And you can see all the places where paintings have been adjusted. If you go into the Louvre, you will see thousands of paintings where people over time have adjusted the paintings. There's very, very famous Rembrandts and stuff like that where they're actually rebuilding the paintings, and they have committees that are rebuilding them to create the luster and the vibrancy that existed thousands of hundreds of years ago. Why is it that with coins there is a complete hatred of this idea, whereas with almost every other area of art it is common practice?
Well, there's a...
And not just art, but collectibles in general. We do it in Civil War memorabilia. There are experts that there are noted experts that do guns or rocking chairs or even
Historical, I collect
manuscripts and things
historical
like that.
documents,
It's a
letters
very
written by
common
presidents,
practice.
where you go on and you fix the paper because
It's-
it's going to fall apart if you don't actually rebuild it.
Right.
So
Well,
what is
one
it
is
about
called,
this? that's-
one is called restoration.
Right.
Right.
The other is deception.
But what, I have a company that authenticates autographs.
Right.
And if you trace over the Babe Ruth, that's not acceptable. So to
Right.
certain degrees, and I don't know if Mark would agree with this, but in coins, the degree is more serious
And also it's
than it is. But there's a lot of things that you can do that are acceptable. I'll grade them, he'll grade them.
Right.
But there are certain things that ruin the coin, moving metal, right?
Right.
It
So-
ruins the coin.
The whole discussion that we've been having about this topic of coin doctoring it boils down to intent. When you take a painting and there's in painting, you're adding paint that's lost. So it's acceptable up to, let's call it 10% or 15%, whatever you feel comfortable with. But it's within that collectible that it's acceptable. So, but you're adding something. When you you're removing. See, I think conservation is analogous removing the varnish, the lacquer or the varnish on a 20th century painting or 19th century painting. You're taking away the yellowing varnish and you're exposing what the artist intended. So that to me is conserving it. When you start adding, you're restoring. When you are, and David and I spoke about this yesterday, my definition of coin doctoring is when you add heads, cut bands, move metal, add a mint mark, and you intend to deceive. Meaning that's the next step.
And you
So
don't
what-
tell anyone.
Yeah, well, one side here is all black, and a legitimate minded person would agree. The four things I mentioned are coin doctrine. They're not acceptable.